Well, on Tuesday we did promise you two this week, and we haven't let you down. We have come back with our second one this week. We've actually we've done what we said for a change. That often doesn't happen. So, welcome to the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is, financial advisor to Rebel Wilson, Titus O'Reilly.
I saw she won that case, and gee, it's an interesting one that she's won there.
I remember when we had Eric Banner on the show the other week. Before we started recording off air, he said, geez, I'm really interested to see how this Rebel Wilson case goes on.
I think everyone in Hollywood is.
Every actor was. He did make the point, though, that he was a little surprised at her suggestion that she'd be making $5 million a movie.
I know. But, I think everyone was probably a bit surprised by that.
So good on you, Rebel. She did say she'll today that she's got whatever payment she gets, she's going to donate to charity. But
so the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah. Although once she pays off her 15 QCs and barristers,
legal fees.
I don't reckon there'll be too much of that $7 million left if that's how much she gets.
We should mention up front the podcast is brought to you by our supporters. Thank you to everyone who's become a supporter, and you too can become a supporter.
You can.
And help us not only do this podcast, but our touring, our shows, and our
all your
writing,
gibberish that you write. Yep.
All the nonsense. So go ahead and do that. That'd be terrific. We appreciate people who put their heart in towards supporting drivel.
Yeah. hard earned towards supporting drivel.
Well, what else is it you're going to put it towards? Now, you pointed out yesterday, and I found this. I'm not sure why you did, but it was kind of amused me because it's so unlike you. Yesterday was World Selfie Day. Is this the end of civilization just creeping up on us slowly?
Who decides it's World Selfie Day?
Oh, some marketing guy?
Yeah. There's not a selfie day committee like the Australia Day, or so. Yeah, I hope you made the most of World Selfie Day yesterday, and while you're at it, if you saw anyone with a selfie stick, yesterday was the day to belt them with it. You know?
I've never. I don't think I've ever taken a selfie.
No,
I've taken pictures. Maybe with other people in the picture, like not just me for some reason.
Yeah.
Even that, not often.
No, I mean it's the sort of thing. I understand kids doing it with footballers or pop stars or something like that.
Yeah, it's the new autograph.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I quite understand that.
But I mean selfies just almost like by yourself ones.
They're just a bit creepy, especially when you're straight onto Instagram or any other social media.
Louis C.K.
Here's me sitting at home.
Yeah, Louis C.K.'s got a great, I think it's Louis C.K.'s got a great gag about this where he says, back in time in history, people would show a picture of their great-grandfather and there's just one picture of them.
Yeah.
And, in future years it will be, hey, do you want to see 2 million photos of my great-grandfather? Because that's how bad it's going. Anyway, it was interesting you brought that up. We should also mention on Tuesday we talked about how Michael Phelps is going to race a great white shark.
I cannot wait for this.
Which we pointed out makes no sense given his top speed, what was about
6 kilometres an hour. 6 miles an hour, about 7 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, and the Sharks is 25 miles per hour, so it's not going to be much of a...
And as we did say, we hope it's, a bit of a handicap race. So, Phelpsy gets 24 metres head start in a 25-metre pool. And that's the thing. Are they going to be doing it in the same pool?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned it because Cam Brown wrote into me on the back of our podcast on Tuesday and said the Phelps Shark race has a precedent. In 2007, Springboks winner Brian Habana, who plays it's rugby union for those that don't know, he's a very fast winger. He raced a cheetah over 100 metres. He was on the same track, but given a 50-metre head start. And it was a tie.
Yeah, I actually watched it.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, after Cam Brown alerted us to this because I wasn't aware of it. It was a pretty good race. The thing I was wondering is how do they start? I mean, does the cheetah know that when the gun goes off that it's...
No, they were holding the cheetah back.
And tempting it with a leg.
And they had it like a greyhound. They were pulling a string with a bit of meat on it so it didn't eat Brian Habana.
And they had... What I liked is they had a bloke standing there with a tranquilizer gun, just in case.
I didn't see that.
Just in case the cheetah wanted to have a crack at Brian.
That was actually for Brian. So that was actually for a good cause. That was Brian using his because he's very famous, especially in South Africa, for the conservation of cheetahs. So it wasn't just a marketing stunt or anything.
But after that, Brian did have another one, which probably was a bit of a marketing stunt. This is true. He raced against a Boeing A380.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and this was for marketing because Boeing were coming out with a new aircraft. And he actually won that race.
Right.
He won it.
Even after it took off?
Well, it was only 100 metres. And so by the time the Boeing sort of gets going, Brian had already covered the 100 metres in 11 seconds.
At top speed, the Boeing's going to...
Yeah, if it had got another 100 metres, I think his goose was cooked.
I do enjoy this, this idea of racing athletes against dangerous animals. And I am looking forward to Phelps' Great White Shark Race, except I'm going to be shattered if they're not in the same pool.
No. And as I said the other day...
But the Sharks, to make it a fun race, you need that element of Michael Phelps could get eaten or severely mauled.
Yeah, and you'd like to see blood in the water.
Would you like to see Tony Lockett race a greyhound? There's a few other, animal sports stars.
We'll throw it out there.
Here's your halftime entertainment.
Throw it out to our listeners. You think up... Come back to us the best athlete versus wild animal race that you can think of.
Oh, the best one
and
of those.
Make it a feasible one.
The best one of those, if someone sends it to us either by email, you can contact me through the Titus O'Reilly website, or you can send it through Twitter or Facebook. The best one we get, they'll win a T-shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it actually. But when I think about it, dangerous animals fighting human athletes.
Yeah.
Or, going up against them. Yeah. Is where the Romans had it right in the Colosseum. And is this our solution to the grand final halftime entertainment? Because, it's obviously not working. So let's get some ex-AFL stars in there with some Lions. And, I mean, this is where the Brisbane Lions had it right about wanting to have a live lion on the field before the game.
Do we use... dangerous animals? I guess we do. It's a lot more interesting.
You don't want send out kittens.
Or you don't just want to have I don't know, Jaden Hunt against Winx. Over 1,200, I'd be back in Winx.
Well, you release a couple of lions while the Oz kickers are going at half time.
Watch them scatter.
And just quietly, people might not be thrilled about it, but you're suddenly watching the AFL halftime entertainment a lot more enthusiastically.
With the Killers belting out Mr. Brightside in the background.
There you go, solved.
Done. There you go. You can thank us later, AFL.
Now, the AFL this week, a lot of AFL news this week. New pay deal got signed off.
Yep.
It says here that the average AFL player's wage will go up more than $60,000 this year, thanks to the 6-year pay deal. It means that
it's interesting that it's sort of effective immediately. It doesn't start next season.
That's because it had basically expired the previous one. So. Now, the other thing that it works out roughly, it's a $1.84 billion collective bargaining agreement. It's a whopping 20% pay increase. And excluding rookies, the average AFL player wage jumps from $309,000 last year to $371,000 this year, starting now. The salary cap will increase from $10.37 million per club to $12.4 million. So that's because everyone's going to be on more. The pay increase, though, is heavily front-loaded, so it drops sharply from the big 20% increase up front, then down to about 1.2% next year, 1.3% in 2019, and 2% for the last 3, which is less than inflation.
Yes, but the 20% is
the 20%
in excess
yes,
of
that's
inflation,
right. So they get it all early. And then the salary cap will go up to $13.54 million by 2020. So they can do this basically on the basis of they now know what the revenue is for the next 6 years from the TV deal. So here's now the players' cut's been worked out.
They say, things got a bit testy, between the Players Association and the AFL, but it never really looked like it was going to fall over or.
You know what they did really well, the AFL is Paul Marsh came in with this, I have to get a cut of a player's revenue sharing model. And that was the hill that the players were going to die on, a bit like what's happening
with the
cricketers. Although the cricketers the Players Association are protecting one they have, whereas there's never been one in the AFL. what the AFL have done quite cleverly is not given them, as much as it's been sold as it, they haven't given them a percentage model, but they've catered to the other side's esteem needs.
Yes.
And
which is great.
Which is what you need to do in every negotiation. You need to work out what does your opponent want and what can I do to make it appear like... Well, no, but you got to... For a union, you've got to appear to have done a good job.
Yeah.
Like, not only have done a good job, but you have to actually appear to have come up with what... And if you say, we want a revenue sharing model, it's very hard to then get a deal ticked off that doesn't have at least the pre... So what they've done is they've given parts of the revenue that will be a percentage model, not all, and with stipulations around it all.
Yeah.
So, but it looks enough like it that the AFLPA can say, we got pretty close.
Now, let me ask you this. There's been a lot of talk already at this stage of the year of so many clubs seem to have what they call a big war chest. They've all got a war chest. They've all got plenty of money to spend on out-of-contract players and free agents at the end of the year. Will this make it better for the clubs? Are their war chests now bigger or smaller because they have to give...
The war chest, I guess, in terms of their overall cap has gone up, but so have all the players' wages straight away. So if you're on like 800 or something, some of them have gone up to 800,000. Some of them now on $1 million.
Yeah,
so even though you're
20%.
So I don't think they've really changed that much individually across the board. It's more some teams have got people coming out of contract or have got salary cap space, while others don't. Now in the AFL, it's very hard to know because they don't publish players' salaries like they do in the NBA and the NFL. And various others.
Everybody knows.
You have a very clear idea of who's got cap problems and when, and who doesn't. You can only guess. Like, so everyone's saying Hawthorn's got plenty of space because they've got a bunch of veterans that have either been cleared out or will finish up. And that possibly is true. I mean, they gave away a lot of draft picks. It wouldn't surprise me if they got a lot of cash because they're not going to be able to rebuild through the draft. But then you look at someone like Collingwood who've given Wells and Maine
plenty of dough.
Crazy amounts of money and aren't even playing. You got to imagine they have cap problems, but you don't know. No one knows.
Nobody knows. But again, Collingwood is one who said, we'll come trade time, we'll be going... Let's go shopping.
But when have Collingwood ever not be like every year? Collingwood are, and this is the nature of them because of the club they are. So popular and focused in Melbourne and everything. On the media focus on them. Every year they're like, we're well placed and we're gonna, and they talk up the recruits they get as if they've had a bonanza.
And then
and then out of the only one I can think of, I know there's more. There's some other players that have been decent, but the only player that's really been like a home run has been Treloar. In the last 5 years, I can really think of. Now, if someone will tweet to me, what about so-and-so?
What about Aish or someone?
Yeah, not Aish.
He hasn't been. But Treloar is a genuine star. But the others, Maine can't get a game. Wells, his calves can't get a game. Who would have thought that
Wells would be injury-prone?
Oh, who'd have thought that?
So anyway, that's the pay deal all done. It does make the cricketers' pay deal become all the more... There's both... They're all become... It just contrasts how easily the AFL, in a way, got theirs done through continual talking, when it seems that the Cricket Association, if stuff that came out this week, couldn't be further apart.
Could not be further apart this week.
I think it's going to...
It's only a bit over a week. It's 8 or 9 days until the lockout starts.
I think the lockout will happen.
Oh, I do too. I mean, we were joking about it a few weeks ago, and I'm saying, I hope that they lock it out, thinking that they'll actually... They'll come to some... sort of, compromise before then. But it looks now, as you say, they're further apart than ever, and nobody's backing down. So, players are going to get locked out, and then they're going to shunt off around the world trying to get jobs in other, competitions. And maybe Cricket Australia are going to have to find a new test team.
Quite possibly.
Which I've already said. I've already put my hand up for.
We know what you'll do.
Yeah.
Cross the picket line in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
We should mention something that got announced last night, and we've talked about this before. We know the AFL have been trialling something called AFLX.
Yes. Has to have an X.
Not a nude version. I think it's, some marketer as well came up with this. Now, they've announced they're planning, it's their version of Cricket's 2020. So you instantly just get deflated.
Can I ask you, who asked for this?
No one has asked for this.
Who thought?
No one.
Who has demanded or said that this would be a good idea?
This is the clearest sign that the AFL headquarters has too many people.
Yes.
Because there are people there that are obviously not busy enough running the game because they got to sit around and not only think up this idea but execute it.
But have meetings.
And put money towards it.
Yeah, meetings and whiteboards and spreadsheets and plans and the whole thing.
They obviously spent no time coming up with the name of it.
No, but as I've said before, if you want to make anything sound a bit hipper, you just throw an X in there.
Yeah. So anyway, they've announced they're going to launch it later with a series of matches involving non-finalists in September. So, Collingwood and
maybe Richmond, Sydney, Hawthorn.
Melbourne are going to miss now. People are going to point this back to us, and fair enough too. Under the proposal, the Saturday after round 23, when the top 8 teams are given the bye, would be set aside to launch AFLX. Now, this is not me saying this is what the AFL have said. This is how they're describing it. A fast-paced, scaled-down version of traditional football.
Right.
They alerted AFL alerted clubs to the plan, and on Thursday night, they've confirmed it hopes to launch the radical concept. See all the buzzwords just coming in?
Radical concept.
Let me read you Simon Lethlean, who's the AFL Football's operation manager's quote, which I don't know if he said it directly or someone in marketing wrote. We're currently investigating the opportunity of using the Saturday of the bye round to showcase AFLX by the best players from teams which have missed the finals. We're exploring with the clubs that have completed incentives to play. We're exploring this with the clubs and have contemplated incentives to play. So they've got to, including prize money.
Right.
So they've got to work out how do we get players who aren't playing finals and the season's over.
This could be the only way Chris Mayne gets a game.
And risk injury. Why are we going to let them play? He said, we're very excited about AFLX. Well, that's someone.
Yeah, I'm glad you are.
He says it's a fast-paced, high-octane version of our game. And
high-octane, again, that's come from marketing.
Instantly, a new way to view AFL. Now, what AFLX is, if you haven't got across this terrific idea before, is it's 7 players per side. It's played on a soccer pitch with 3 or more...
So it's 100 metres long, so it's 2 kicks from goal to goal.
Yeah. It consists of quarters so there's 7 players a side and then another 3 on the bench each. It consists of quarters lasting no longer than 10 minutes. It has no centre bouncers. After a goal, it's just back to a kick in from the full back and 1 umpire, which is the only thing I like out of this. And so that's their idea. Now, I just cannot believe... what team, unless the AFL absolutely makes them, what team would want to have this is when, if you've finished basically you're at
the end of the season.
The season's over, right? Why
you've had a massive pre-season.
The season's
you've
already
had 23
too long.
rounds of footy. It's like, come on, boys, we got the AFLX now. Every single player on the list will go, ankles, need an operation, or knees a bit dodgy.
Imagine
a lot of rookies might get a game.
Imagine someone does a serious injury playing this game. And then on top of it, they've said that the way they want to raise the prize money is by getting the teams to pay to join the competition each year.
Oh, God.
And then the pool goes to the winner.
Would they have they got a venue yet? Would they play it at, say, Amy Park? Or
no idea.
Middle of the MCG? I don't know.
It's just...
when they say round 20, they're not talking this year, are they?
Well, that's what they sort of said, whether that gets up by this year.
Oh, I can't see it happening. This is... Look, the thing that you said is true. This just shows that the AFL are top-heavy with flogs.
Top-heavy with flogs. They're saying, though, this to me more... It just... Is this where the focus of AFL needs to be? Where you've got junior football, you've got women's football, which is going terrifically well, but needs the infrastructure and the investment around it. You know, there's country clubs and suburban clubs just crying out for whether it's funding or equipment or, even just being made a showcase.
It's not just funding. I know one thing, because a lot of people whinge about having that bye round before the finals in the AFL. But I can tell you now, there are suburban, amateur and a lot of country leagues who love it, who loved it last year because that's their big focus. That Saturday, they had more people at the games than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
And that's just an easy spillover benefit for football. Now they're not going to get that because there'll be a bunch of blokes running around in silver outfits on a soccer pitch.
Silver outfits?
Well, if you're going to call it X.
They're all going to look like Hawthorn and Wade clash strips.
Look like gladiators. Maybe John Alexander could be the umpire.
See, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now, actually, the only way I'd be interested in AFLX is if they did release a cheetah into the middle of it. Then I'd start to get a bit interested. Look, if you want to play on a soccer-sized pitch with about 10 players, just play soccer.
Yeah. There you go.
There's a sport invented for that.
It fits perfectly on there.
And this idea that they say, internationally, this helps us grow our game because a lot of places don't have AFL labels and stuff. It's like, stop trying to grow it overseas.
Yeah, no.
You can't even win over Greater Western Sydney.
Yeah.
You're struggling in Queensland.
You failed in New Zealand.
You don't even have a team in Tasmania who actually like the sport. And you keep trying to talk about... Every time someone talks about China and... South Africa, it just blows my mind.
But even forgetting football for a moment, there are 1,000 industries and businesses in Australia who go, I'd love to crack China because it's got, everybody wants to crack China. It's not that easy. And just putting Port and the Gold Coast up there for a weekend in an empty stadium isn't going to cut it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's one of the silly
Anyway, we're looking forward to AFLX. We'll be there.
Jeez. It's like they're just sitting there in HQ going, how can we give Serge and Titus some content? Something to talk about. There's been a lot of talk this week, Serge, after the Bulldogs' terrible last couple of weeks, of infighting.
Infighting.
Which...
I generally like a bit of club infighting.
Yeah, well,
I'm not convinced about this one, though. This one's a bit distasteful.
Well, infighting to me that makes them sound like every workplace in Australia. Yeah. There's not many places that you have...
But everybody loves each other.
Yeah, but the other thing here is you can have infighting, but if you're winning, no one cares. Right?
Well, I was about to say...
The losing is where suddenly everyone starts looking for a...
If there is infighting at the Bulldogs, it's come pretty quickly after the premiership.
Well, there's talk here, and Jake Stringer came out to address a rumour this week, and it's becoming common for players having to come out and address rumours. Mark Murphy had to do it about the Wayne Carey one.
Yeah, that's right.
And Carey went on and shot down those rumours earlier in the year, and now you've got Stringer. And I don't know if this is because of social media that rumours now that were always around get back to the players quicker or go around.
I think that's the reason that people hear about these. I remember years ago, those sort of rumours would be within the football world and the football media. And if somebody said, look, have you heard this rumour? I got it from a bloke at work who knows a guy who works for a sponsor who went to lunch at Collingwood or something. But these days, they just bing, they're out in the public domain instantly. Yeah. So they're a lot harder to keep a lid on.
So he came out and said that that people were trying to smear his ex-partner, who's quite famously is splitting up from Abby Gilmore, who's they've got some kids together.
Is that Happy Gilmore?
Abby Gilmore. Oh, right. Yeah, Happy Gilmore. See, Jake Stringer hooking up with Happy Gilmore. There's a story.
Now you're talking. I'd watch that rather than AFLX.
So Abby Gilmore, and apparently what's got this all started is Jason Johansson, who's been in the media a lot for his footballing woes lately, is best friends with Abby Gilmore. So Stringer's there. And and best friends with, and Stringer says he's like a brother to him too. But Abby has said, Jason's my best friend, but any rumours of there's something going on and therefore a rift between me and and Jake over this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're just all friends, right?
Yeah.
So fine, whatever. I mean, I don't really care. I don't even care really what's happening to people I know directly, let alone what's happening to
football.
Unless it's affecting the ability to play football.
Yes.
Then of course it's everyone's business. So anyway, she came
young
out.
Jake has been playing a bit angry lately, you'd have to say.
Well, he just hasn't been really playing, but. Anyway, Happy Gilmore came out and said, Jason is my best mate. That's it. That's literally it. There's no story. I don't get it. I don't know why people assume more. I've never touched Jason and I never plan on it. Just letting you know. He's one of my best mates, always will be. Now,
fair enough.
While that's great to shoot it down.
She could give him a haircut.
Well, I was about to say, every bloke, deep down thinks every girl's a bit into them.
Yeah.
So hearing that she's never touched him and never planned on it, even if Jason at the moment has no interest, there's a part of him going, "What? You couldn't have Did you have to shoot me down?
I'm not that bad, am I?
I'm a enormous medalist. Some chicks dig me because that's the thing. So anyway, but I mean. This is the thing, how easy rumours get started, not just in footy. If anyone's ever a friend with a female, a bloke and a female friends together, people don't believe it. Close friends, people always suspect something. They just can't believe it's possible.
Down that path.
And I blame the movie When Harry Met Sally for
correct. It's funny, I was about to say the same thing.
Well,
Billy Crystal said that. What did he say? You can't be friends with a woman because the sex thing always gets in the way.
Yeah. And
although it didn't in this case, and
well, I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
Probably hasn't. I mean, who knows? Anyway, David Schwartz was saying that their on-field issues were due to their off-field issues, he said this week. He said there are players down there that aren't seeing eye to eye on a number of issues, so not just the one that we've heard shot down. And he said some of them aren't footy related, so that was sort of stoking some of these. And imagine why it came out. Then on top of it, Bob Murphy, though, came out and denied the reports of infighting and said he read about it first when Robbo mentioned it on Twitter. And Murphy said he read it and went, well, I don't know, I'm the captain of the club and I don't know about this.
Didn't know about this, hadn't heard about this one.
So, who knows?
Who knows? They are a bit distasteful, these sort of rumours of players' wives and girlfriends with other footballers and stuff, because as much as we joke about it, of it happening, it still can be nasty and hurtful. And
the difference is this happens in every workplace.
Well, that's true.
The only difference, again, with AFL and other industries like the entertainment industry and stuff is that they're high-profile positions, so people have a vested interest and feel they know these people even though they don't. But it happens in every workplace I've ever been in.
But usually only at other normal workplaces after the Christmas party.
Yeah, that's right.
Just see Tom from sales.
How many rumours have gone down all your workplaces that you've worked in over the years? You couldn't even remember most of them. There's just so many.
I was the butt of most of them.
But a lot of yours were true. So anyway, so that's been a bit of a distraction for the Bulldogs. So which is a shame because the Bulldogs were really like an exciting team last year, and their rapid decline is disappointing.
They weren't just beaten by a better side on Sunday by Melbourne. They looked like there was something wrong. And I know we went. Well, they were easily beaten. On Tuesday, we discussed it on Tuesday.
But they were easily beaten.
I've never seen an AFL team. A good AFL team, like a premiership AFL team, fumble the ball so much and be so indecisive with their ball movement. It was something strange going on down there. And I don't think Happy Gilmore's got anything to do with it.
No, I think Happy Gilmore should be left alone. And the other thing is Stringer's come out and said this. So I don't think there's any truth in it given what Stringer's said. But even if it was, if Stringer's got no problem with it, then
why do we?
Then why would anyone else care? Whether they are or not. He doesn't have a problem. Anyway.
Hey, just on that, while we're still talking about the Bulldogs and Melbourne, did you hear this morning that Tom Bugg, there is now a giant mural of him in Hosier Lane in Melbourne?
Just when that Instagram post story just couldn't get any stupider.
There is. Now, when they had that big one of Kim Kardashian or somebody, and then it was one of Madonna. Some artist down there overnight's painted them over.
Was it you? Why have you got spray paint on your hands?
Yeah, that red and blue on my jeans. But there's a great, huge mural of Tommy Bugg. And you know what? I reckon Tommy Bugg's loving this.
I reckon
He's
he paid
absolutely
someone to
loving
do
this.
it. Now, Nathan Buckley this week on Channel 9, he on Footy Classified,
Yeah.
he got into let's call it a debate between him and Craig Hutchinson around his views on the media.
Yeah.
And it started off with Buckley talking about a doorstop interview with Jason Johansson again, and he said that doorstopping players was distasteful and disrespectful and something he found cringeworthy. He argued that the practice of doorstopping had been created by intense competition between rival television networks, each trying to one-up the other, in terms of, we got this quote, or we got to speak to Scott Pendlebury and no one else did or something.
That's been going on for decades.
And then he said, it's uncomfortable for the player, he said, and he doesn't want to really answer it up to this point. And he says, if we want him to answer that question, this is not Johansson, but his own players, we'll put him up to answer it. He said that he felt the players were very accessible, but on our terms, not on yours, he said, in terms of not on the media's terms. He was asked if this view was a result of his own paranoia about the media. And he said that the media's reporting didn't always reflect his intended message. I don't think the media can be trusted with information. So, did you see this?
No, I
exchange
saw. Didn't see it live. I watched the replay. I watched it online. And I don't know. I'm forever suspicious of people in football clubs whinging about the media. Now we all know they get it wrong sometimes, the media and what have you. But for every footballer who complains about the intrusion of the media, I just say, well, the only reason you're now playing on an average $371,000 a year is because of the media.
Yeah.
If there was no TV deal, you'd be playing for $100 a week like you used to do at Spotswood before you got drafted.
Yeah.
So I'm always a bit wary about that. I think the thing that comes out from this is not whether the TV stations should or should not doorstop players. That's been going on for decades. I mean, I remember Eddie Maguire when he was at Channel 10, the young doing the rounds reporter.
Yeah.
When Tony Lockett threw his crutch at Eddie, it was one of the things that made him famous, and that was your classic reporter trying to be the first one on the scene to get the story.
Yeah.
So it's been going on forever. But the big story or the big issue here is, I reckon, is accessibility of players. Now, I know Hutchie, who spends half his time in the States, and he goes to the Super Bowl and all the NFL playoffs and the NBA and stuff. And he has seen firsthand just how accessible the players are.
A lot more than here.
Over there, like, we're lucky now if on Channel 7 or Fox Footy, we see a locked-off camera in the changing rooms and you see the players doing a bit of end-to-end handball or whatever. Whereas over there, the reporters, you can just walk into the changing rooms while they're getting changed.
They have let Brian Taylor do that, though, here, and I would say I would almost agree that they shouldn't.
There's exceptions to every rule, and that's the one. But that's after the game. But there's got to be a balance. I think that the clubs here are far too, what's the word? They're far too strict on their making the players accessible and not letting them say anything, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you see when Tommy Bugg does something as silly as that thing on the weekend with Johansson, all of a sudden people are talking about it, not in a negative way, and it turned out to be a great thing. I think if the clubs made the players a lot more accessible, the world wouldn't end and the public would be better off for it. And let's not forget, the clubs themselves blatantly lie to the media dozens of times per week on everything, whether it's player injuries or what they're going to do on the weekend. So it's a two-way street, and I'm always a bit wary of people in the media, people on the club side whinging about the media, particularly when you're sitting on a TV show, which you're getting paid handsomely to do, So
I thought there was
my 2 cents.
I thought there was two things that came out of it that two points that Buckley was trying to prosecute. One was that he feels you can't trust the media.
Yeah.
And I would say on that regard, that the media has done themselves, some of the media have done themselves no favour over the years of running with fake stories or stories that aren't even true or speculating on nonsense or, you know, camping at the front of people's houses forever. Like, you know, even Hurd, who, you know, everyone who knows, listen to this podcast knows I've got not hugely positive views on Hurd, but thought that camping outside his house for months on end was just a disgrace. You know, like,
and even in a practical sense, that was never going to achieve anything from the media's point of view.
I thought his point about I can't always trust the media is, I think the media, both across footy media and political media, you're seeing this, is a lot of distrust around the media from the general public too. And I think social media has short-circuited a lot of this because people now do just go direct to the source, or if you're subject to an article that takes what you said out of context or skews it a certain way, you've got the ability as an individual or a club or a company to come out directly and say, here's the full transcript of the interview, or here's what I actually said, or, you know, and you're seeing that a bit, and that's not helping the media. So I agree with Bucks on that point, that in some ways the media can't be trusted because they're always going to look to sensationalise it and all that. But, you know, boo-hoo in a way, that's the way the world is. And the thing is with Bucks is the amount of journos who actually this year I've watched, from Mark Robinson's been big on it, Gerald Whateley's done it, a heap of them, right? In everything they say about Buckley, they say he's a great media performer and a great guy, and they actually go really soft on him on his track record as coach. So in some ways, he's got a lot of positives out of the media. So you can't. But the thing to me is, on that point about that part of the media, I thought Bucks was probably right in that the media probably need to be more responsible about what they report and slightly now. There's been more, but the problem there is there's a few. Yeah, it does work. You're exactly right there. And there are some individuals who've probably tarred the hole with the brush. Several individuals I can think of who've really misreported or done very dodgy reporting on things that make the clubs. But that's those individual journalists, not the whole media. Like a lot of media are actually incredibly lazy. They just take the media release and what the coach said and write it up. You know, it's not particularly. So that's the one point. The second point Buckley said is his response to therefore how things should be managed, because he can't trust the media and what should be accepted by everyone, is that the media should only really be able to engage with clubs and players on the club's terms when they choose to, and more often than not, that's the club will interview the player and put the video clip up and go, we've made him available. There you go. Which is not media access. No, that's just propaganda.
That's Kim Jong-un does think that's just that way.
It's just ridiculous when he tries to push that as a legitimate way of. And the reason I say that is these footy clubs, and you set it up the front, and that's where it's spot on. These footy clubs and these players, I know there are a lot of negatives that come and pressure and focus that come with it, but the only reason they are getting paid the money, as you said, is because we all follow it. We're all members. You know, there's more members of footy clubs in this country by a country mile than political parties. You know, the interest is intense.
I mean,
you know, Labor and Liberal nationally would be lucky to have 15,000 members each.
Yeah.
I mean,
Greater Western Sydney have got more than that.
Yeah, Richmond have 70,000 and they don't even play finals. So, you know, you've got... It's just... It is and then even the TV money comes from the fact that the ratings of us who all watch it,
people who watch it.
So a level of scrutiny of where our money's going and where, you know, and that they accept the paycheck. Now, there are limits. It doesn't mean I think, you know, they should be door stopped at their house all the time, you know, like but there is an implicit thing where they've got to make themselves available sometimes. And you know what? They're not always going to get asked really easy questions. Yeah. That's just the way it is. They are public figures that are going to be scrutinised, especially even more so, I think, than the players, is the club officials.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're usually when I say the clubs lie to the media dozens of times a week, I'm not talking about the players. That's usually the officials. It'll be a football manager or an assistant coach or even a senior coach. you know.
And the players can always just not talk to the media. I know it's a look they love, but they can just walk past and say, no comment today, thanks, guys, and just keep walking.
Exactly. And that piece of vision won't even make the telly.
No, and if it does, it's most people we know go, well, they were bugging him. So anyway, I thought Buckley was a bit like, he was right on some points, but he didn't really have a solution that solves all these issues.
I agree with that. I think Bucks, by pointing out that, you know, there's a couple of bad eggs or the occasional dodgy media report or performer doesn't necessarily mean that the entire media is out to get you. I think he was being...
But see, their problem Collingwood have at the moment is with Mark Robinson in the main, going back to when he named them as the most, you know, drug club and then on the list, and then, you know, and then the stuff recently on
Alex Fasolo.
And so they've obviously got a major problem with him. So fine, put him in the freezer. You know, don't give him any access.
Yeah.
Fine, but you know, because you see that their belief is he's gone above and beyond breaking any journalistic ethics or morals. That's their view. So if that's their view, they're entitled to cut him off. But don't pretend the whole media is like it, because most of the media are just reporting what they say.
99, I'd say 100% of the footy media love their footy. That's why they report on footy and not politics or not, you know, movies or something. So I think Bucks was being a tad defensive. Yeah,
well, I guess it's hard to feel positive towards a group of people that are constantly calling for you to be sacked.
Yeah, well, that's true. But that as you and I both know, happens in every workplace as well.
See, this is where I quite, you know, that I kind of feel weird because we comment on everything, but we're not, when we neither have nor want any access.
No. Do you reckon we should get Bucks on here one week?
But my thing about it is, I actually think the problem that a lot of the footy media have, a lot of the commentators have, is they all want to be friends with these guys.
Yeah.
And the footy players too, and the footy, even Bucks, as much as he's getting on his high horse, which like Maltese used to do, they all know that if they're not hired as coaches or administrators, that their best way of making money is to be in the media commentating on it. And what's the bet? Bucks ends up, if he gets sacked at this point or whatever, will end up back in the media because you know, it's the golden parachute for a lot of these guys.
I've said this before, that for the football, you know, Mick Malthouse is the perfect example here. As a leading football identity, senior coach, who for many years was uncooperative with the media, distrustful of the media, openly contemptuous of the media at times. And as soon as he got sacked, said, "Can I have a job in the media?" You know, they all do. And your point about too many of the media wanting to be friends with them all is because over the journey, they've got to know them in different circumstances. Like, you know, I'll just pluck out Nick Del Santo because this is his sort of first year in the media.
Yeah.
For the last 12 years, people in the media have known him just as a player, a very good player. And so there is a g'day Nick sort of relationship there when you see him and run into him. Now he's in the media, it's a whole different thing. So are we all mates? You know, no, we aren't. The best media performers are the ones, as you say, who maintain that distance and don't have to feel the need to be best friends with all the players and all the coaches.
It's impossible to do both. I mean,
we've proven that. Just wait till I ring Bucks this afternoon and see if he takes that call.
See if he takes your call. Jaeger O'Meara, this week it was announced that he has a new knee injury that's going to keep him out till late in the season. They've described this, Hawthorn, as merely a hiccup.
Yeah. He's saying late in the season. A lot of other people going, next year. He won't be back till next year.
Well, why would you rush him back this year to play for the 17th place side?
Yeah.
I mean, he won't be back this year.
He's playing for St Kilda's draft pick.
And trying to help St Kilda out, do him a solid. Now, it's in the same knees, right, as previous ones, but they've come out and said that it's unrelated. It's a new injury to his knee.
How many bits has he got in his knee?
Every bit
that can go wrong.
Every bit. they haven't put a timeline properly on it, and they want to reassess it. But they came out in the on the Hawthorn. This is their own media again. Getting back to Buck's point, on the Hawthorn website, they put out a statement about this, and they said I know this sounds like bad news, but it's actually great news because it's a new part of his knee. And I thought, is it really great news that the guy who's had serious knee troubles forever, now that a new bit stuff?
The crime rate's only gone up 8% this year instead of 10%, so that's a good sign.
Well, it's in a different area of crime. They've moved on from aggravated burglars to just burgs to just holding up people in the street.
Yeah, just macheting strangers at random rather than in your own house.
Yeah, that's
and there is a difference.
Well, look, I hope they're right that it's just a mere hiccup, that it's...
well, nobody wants to see O'Meara on the sidelines as any other decent player.
This is how my mind thinks of it. And this is an insight in how I'm not a nice person, I guess. Is there's a genuine part of me that wants him to be all right, because I don't want, poor kid. He's got heaps of talent, and it's much better watching him play. Oh, but boy, do I want him never to play again. Yeah. Just for the Hawthorn going wrong draft strategy. Never, but I know they're mutually exclusive. So if I had to pick one, I would much prefer Jager to play and go on to be a superstar. I agree. But is there a little part of me in my dark bit of my head that's going, this would be funny.
I'd love to say this is the greatest recruiting bust of all time.
The thing about this one is it was such a palpable risk up front. People knew that they were taking a risk, and they were all in and backing themselves.
It's like Daniel Wells at Collingwood, and even Deledio at GWS hasn't played this year, and everyone knew that he had a crook calf when he went up there.
Yeah,
and that's the way it goes. But you'd hope you would hope that O'Meara does come good, but I doubt very much whether we'll see him again this year.
I don't think we'll see him again this year because, as you say, why would you rush him back? There's not a lot of point. But in all seriousness, I hope that they do fix it. It is just a new problem. But everything I read about it, even coming from the club, sounds like this is a permanent injury. He's always going to have to manage and things like that. So, I mean, it is surprising. If you're a Hawthorn fan, you'd be wondering, why did we do this?
Oh, you'd have to ask the question, and especially given what they gave up to get him. That's the thing. It's all very well to say, look, We've got this gun recruit, and we might be paying him a lot more over the odds, say like a Tom Boyd or something.
Well, Trelaw's the example of this, right, where they gave away a lot to get him.
Yeah. But it's been paid back in spades.
Yeah, you look at it and go, well, imagine Collingwood without him.
Yeah. It's like Michael Hibberd at Melbourne. They didn't give up much to get him, admittedly. But
Hibberd's been terrific.
But he will arguably be one of the best.
He's the best recruit of the season.
Yeah, pickups from another club.
He's the best
that Melbourne's ever had, and that any club's got this year.
He's the best pickup for the season for anyone, I reckon. I can't think of anyone he's been amazing.
Yeah. And
the only Essendon 34 player I think is probably Innocent, him and Melksham.
Yeah, they were the
Is that my bias showing?
Well, the jury's still out on Melksham, but he was absolutely innocent.
He told him to stop. Now, Hall of Fame. Did you actually watch the Hall of Fame?
No, I didn't. It's everyone who works in the AFL / media football industry, right? Which is not us, not you and I, in the bubble. I get a bit sick of every year that they say, this is the best night of the year. The Hall of Fame. It's the best night of the year. That, for me, makes me not want to go.
Well, the thing about...
Not that I was invited anyway.
The Hall of Fame is for people that are the true footy fanatics.
Yeah.
The people who will, when you chat to them about footy, my brain just doesn't work this way. No. I love footy, but even and even when I've read heaps of books on it and all that sort of stuff, I can't tell you off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you who won the 1983 Brownlow. I just you might do it, but my brain just doesn't.
I couldn't tell you.
My brain just doesn't retain information. Yeah. When you sit down with some people, which I admire, so I'm not being critical, and they'll say, that was round 1772. I remember, Barry Knackers had 32 possessions on the wing, and he was playing on, remember he used to play for Brunswick in the, and you're sitting there going,
no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea. I can't remember who played last
week.
You and I have trouble remembering who's played last week. So, and that's to me the sort of people that love the AFL Hall of Fame. They just think it's great.
But in answer to your question, did I watch it? I didn't watch it not for that reason. There were other reasons I didn't watch it. But the thing, and it does go on forever when you watch it on TV. The thing I do like watching usually later from the Hall of Fame is some of the speeches, because there's been some funny, but also some just brilliant and moving and great speeches. Like Andrew McLeod's one was last year or the year before.
Yeah.
It was an absolute belter. Now, I wouldn't want to watch the entire thing, but that is the one great thing about the Hall of Fame is that, obviously the name says it, but it honours great players of the past.
I've been to one of them. I've been once before, and I just remember it because it was free drinks.
Because you were a waiter. That's when you worked in the Palladium.
No, I got invited one year. I can't remember who by. This is maybe 2-3 years ago. And
so you can tell us, is it the best night of the year?
Well,
it'd have to be better than the Brownlow. I've been to the Brownlow a couple
It was
of times.
free drinks.
Well, that always helps.
So I was pretty happy. But
it is free drinks at the Brownlow too, and that's a dud.
Oh, Brownlow's incredibly boring night.
Well, see, the only two Brownlows I went to both won by Robert Harvey, who, champion his years, is never going to be one of the great speech makers of all time.
Malcolm Blight was given legend status.
Yeah, fair enough too.
And
I've always said he's one of the best players I've ever seen.
He's the first they've awarded that to since Tony Lockett in 2015.
Yep.
And he's the 27th legend overall. The others that got inducted into the Hall of Fame, so not legends, but just into the Hall of Fame, were Barry Hall, Simon Goodwin, and Anthony Stevens all got in. Barry Hall was an interesting one.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit. I mean, the arguments that these come out, because it's when you look at their stats and what they've achieved, it's hard to argue that some players shouldn't be in there, but it's always when you compare with players who aren't there yet. Now, look, I would look at a Terry Wallace or a Nicky Winmar before Barry Hall, you know? But then it's just a purely subjective thing. Everyone has their own idea, but I still think Barry Hall. In fairly early, I would have thought.
Oh, super early. And then there was it brought up all his violent on-field antics.
Yeah. It's always good to see the Brent Staker hit again.
Gee, that was just a dog act.
Oh, that's one of the all-time greats.
I've never forgotten, but it was just that was a dog act.
What did he get for that? 6 or 8?
Oh, more, I think, yeah.
I think he got 8 weeks for that.
Now he would be suspended for the season.
That'd be going
He'd almost be out of the game
kind of thing.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the Hall of Fame. I still find it amazing that Lou Richards isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Well, he's in the Hall of Fame, but he's not a legend.
A legend, sorry. Yeah.
Have you ever met Malcolm Blight?
Have I ever met him?
Yeah.
Don't think I have.
I was lucky enough a few years ago when Channel 10 were televising the footy. You remember Blight was one of the commentators.
Yeah.
I went out for dinner with a mate who works at Channel 10 and a couple of others, and Blighty was there. And my mate had warned me. He said, if you want to start talking footy with Blighty, make sure it's about Blighty.
All right.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't reckon he thought he'd be a legend, just ask him. He's more than happy to explain to you, but in a very, very self-deprecating, entertaining way. It was almost as entertaining listening to him as watching him, I reckon.
We should mention Boris Becker got declared bankrupt just today, I think, earlier today over in London. The London Bankruptcy Court decided he was bankrupt because of basically a long-time debt. I think going back to 2015, but he hadn't paid it, so they got to the point where they got
a massive amount.
No. But he obviously couldn't come up with it. His lawyers asked for a final chance to pay the funds by remortgaging a property in Majorca
that
he owns. But basically, the register, Miss Christine Derrett, said it was with regret that she came to the conclusion that he couldn't pay, and that therefore he was declared bankrupt as a result of this. Becker said he was surprised and disappointed that they hadn't that the people who were basically suing him or what he owed the debt to were bringing proceedings against him. And he said it relates to a one disputed loan which I was due to repay in full in 1 month's time. But it sounds like he's been saying just a month away, mate.
Off for a while. Yeah. I'll call you back. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's obviously in a bit of. Now the other thing that was when he pleaded to try and let it get another month to pay it back, the Register rejected the plea and said it's not often the case that a professional person has a debt outstanding against them since October 2015. This is a historic debt. One has the impression of a man with his head in the sand about Becker. Now, Mr. Becker's advocate, John Briggs, came out. And how would you like someone saying this? He said, he is not a sophisticated individual when it comes to finances.
Yeah,
about his own client. This is my client's an idiot.
He's an idiot, yeah, basically.
This is like the one that people keep using, the Republicans keep using about Trump.
Yeah.
They go, oh, you got to remember here, he's new to politics. He doesn't understand the...
No, he's an idiot, yeah. But the thing about Boris Becker, and I looked this up, I mean, he was coaching Novak Djokovic until fairly recently, and that ended well, because Djokovic sort of actually hasn't won a match, I think, for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
But over his career... his playing career, Boris Becker, he won over $25 million worth in prize money. And you've got to assume a fair proportion on top of that for sponsors and stuff like that. Yeah. So let's say he's had $30 to $40 million he's earned in his playing career.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
And he now works for the BBC as a commentator and a whole bunch of other things.
And he's been made bankrupt. All I will say is, Bernard Tomic, there's a lesson here for you. You reckon you're worth plenty now. Just wait and see down the track.
That's the problem with people is no matter what you give them in money, they spend that amount.
Yeah, or spend. Yeah, exactly.
Like some people don't, but very few. You
can give somebody $100 and he will spend 120. And you go, well, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Whereas if you give him 100 million, instead of spending 60 and putting 40 in the bank.
Yeah, it's like every lottery winner goes bankrupt pretty much.
Yeah,
because they just instantly start giving money to friends and they go on holiday and they buy things that make
stupid cars,
things, and suddenly they go, oh, the expense of running their lifestyle, is beyond.
So, Boris, well, bad luck to you there, Boris. I don't think he's ever truly recovered from the closet incident.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I remember that he had sex with a woman in a closet at a restaurant. Yeah. And he only just met her. She was at another table and caught his eye. True. This is true. She's giving him the look. He's pointed to the other room. She's gone, yeah, okay.
And he's not allowed back in McDonald's.
and he's had to pay alimony for that kid ever since.
Now, we should mention your best friend.
Who would that be?
Mike Tancred.
Tugger. Yeah.
The AOC media manager has been stood down for bullying accusations.
Yes.
He's been stood down while they investigate a bunch of things. He was declared that it wasn't bullying.
No.
Even though he admitted
it was disreputable behaviour.
Yeah, he threatened to destroy Fiona de Jong and her career and everything.
And her
threatened
family,
to kill people and all this. Not bullying. Now, I had a message come through to me. The person provided their name but asked to remain anonymous because they didn't want to get in trouble, basically.
Sure.
But I do have their name and they're legit. They're a union official.
All right.
And they wanted to say, they said, "G'day, Titus. Just following on from your discussion on Mike Tancred's conduct and how it wasn't found to be bullying. I'm a union official and I deal with these matters all the time. The definition of bullying under the law is repeat incidences of inappropriate behaviour.
Right.
So not more than one. The AOC investigation has used this technicality to whitewash Tancred's behaviour because he only made one threatening phone call to Fiona de Jong.
Right.
Now, his problem is going to be there's a bunch of other investigations into other things he's done. So there it looks more like it's harder to say it was a one-off when you've got several other ones, but they've still got to be done. They're saying had he done it a second time to her, it would have been much harder for them to argue that it wasn't bullying. Now, he also says, love your podcast, but please tell that scab Paradise to stop threatening to cross the Cricket Australia picket line.
He's a union official, of course.
Yeah.
That scab Paradise.
Because Serge has regularly said he will cross the picket line to pay for Australia if they do go to strike. So there you go. Now, I want to just say this is from the union that this person's from is a reputable union, right. And I fully agree with him that you're a scab. Or sorry, had the potential to be a scab.
Just let me say, in my defence, this is the only picket line I've ever professed that I would cross.
A baggy, but
there's a baggy green at the end of it.
Yeah, well, I see why you're tempted, but still, it's
principles are one thing.
So anyway, good on you for writing in and giving Serge a bit of a touch up on the way through. I'm looking forward to the some of the right wing think tanks writing in their support for you. I'm looking forward to us becoming an ideological battleground.
Yeah, I can already see an email from the Institute of Public Affairs.
That's right. You're actually going to be asked to be their guest speaker.
The poster boy for picket crossing.
So we should also just mention the State of Origin last night. The New South Wales did a Richmond.
Yeah.
Losing in the dying seconds to Queensland, which they do with alarming regularity. If you're
if you're as cynical as me, you might even say that result almost followed a script.
Well, there's a lot of people saying that this is like the dodgy NRL.
They want to make. But I just think it has to go to week 3.
It's been so dominant for so long, Queensland winning the State of Origin. I know there's been one or two that in the last sort of 10 plus years that New South Wales have won, but not many.
Yeah.
That it's not a very good script if they're doing that. They'd even it up a bit more than they do.
And to be honest, the people who run the NRL and play in the NRL generally aren't smart enough to put together a conspiracy as good as that.
Well, I doubt anyone in any sport.
Yeah, well, that's right. There's a lot of people would have to be in on it. But yeah, I'm not a big rugby league fan, but I do enjoy the State of Origin. They just, they take it so seriously in New South Wales and Queensland. That's not a criticism. I reckon it's fantastic.
Well, you were saying to me before we went on air that you were up in Sydney a few years ago on State of Origin night.
Yeah. And I didn't even realise it was State of Origin night. I was
being Victorian.
Yeah, and I was down in Manly, and I'm thinking, geez, the streets are deserted. I'll go down to the Stain Hotel and have a couple of pots or schooners since I was in Sydney. And I walked in there, and it was like, when in the movie when the kids first walk into what's his name, Willy Wonka's factory.
Oh yeah.
The doors open. The doors open the pub, and there was giant screens
going on,
screaming, thousands of people, and all wearing the light blue. And I thought, gee, I just didn't realise it was this big, and ended up watching it. It was fantastic. But I'll be watching week 3. I've got to say.
Oh, it was actually very entertaining. I like any sport at the top level, and I like any sport, especially when it's close like that. Well, I was almost about to turn it off and watch Erin Brockovich, which was on Foxtel.
Well, gee, that'd be a soft option, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that have been a different change of pace? But then Queensland started to get back into it a bit.
And you think, Fatty Vorton or Julia Roberts?
Yeah. I know which redhead I prefer to be watching on TV. So anyway, it was a good. It's always enjoyable watching New South Wales fans meltdown on Twitter.
It is. And before we go, I just need to say good day to Grinspoon.
I saw this.
I had a crack at Grinspoon last night, who were playing before the game, and they've come back to me on Twitter. Obviously, they thought what I said was not out of the whack. So I know they probably won't be playing at week 3, but they did a pretty good job last night.
Grinspoon, you've gone back because they came back at you.
No. I did say Grinspoon. nothing says, mate against mate than a bunch of 48-year-olds pretending to be punks, which is sort of how they came across a bit last night.
I'm going to go get in contact with Grinspoon.
Phil Jamison.
Yeah, Phil Jamison. He follows me on Twitter, so I'm going to contact him and say, just let him know when you're doing your next, your cover band is playing next. I'm going to give him the details and get him to, he and I will go and heckle you from the front of the stage.
That's fair. No, it's fair enough. And we don't do any Grinspoon songs.
Don't you?
No.
Oh, you get him up.
They're just a poor man's living end. Who in turn are a poor man's Green Day.
Everyone's a poor man's something.
Exactly.
On that note, we'll be back next week. Thanks to everyone who went on and rated us on iTunes and left some. We got some nice comments. I like the ones that also give us a 5-star rating, but in the comments sledge us slightly. That's always quite
but the
amusing.
5 stars are more important, but technically.
I'm all for being sledged. We give a lot of stuff that people could sledge us on. And thanks again to all our supporters. We really do appreciate you signing up and making this all very worthwhile. If you feel like joining and sending a few dollars our way to keep us in whiskey and hot chips. Rent. Oh, yeah, rent. But I thought Boris Becker was... Yeah, because we have been living in Boris Becker's house in Majorca, and it's looking like we may have to move.
In that dodgy little closet.
We will see you all on Monday.
Yes.